Last time out in the Motorsport News Circuit Rally Championship, competitors tackled a challenging day at Knockhill in Scotland. There were plenty of local entries, all vying for success against the championship regulars. John Marshall and Scott Crawford were at the sharp end with their Subaru Impreza, but it was reigning champion and this season's title leaders Chris West and Keith Hounslow who took the honours by just 7 seconds after 10 stages of rallying. Hello and welcome to round 4 of the Motorsport News Circuit Rally Championship. The MGJ Engineering Brands Hatch Winter Stage is organised by the Chelmsford Car Club. It's a cold day to open this year's action at the famous Kent circuit, but things will soon heat up as the action gets underway on the stages. There's a good crowd on hand to watch these 8 stages scheduled for this year's event. Those who have come out will be in for a treat. Let's have a look at some of the entries, starting with Class A, which included event sponsor Mick Johnson driving with Peter Pears in a Ford Puma. A great class full of spectacular little cars. In Class B, it was great to see Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish back after that horrific barrel roll at Knockhill. Great work by the team at TNS Rally for getting that car repaired. Class C, always fantastic as well, and definitely people to watch for. Kathy Sewart and Colin Stevens in the Talbot Sunbeam Lotus, but also Ryan Connolly and Christopher Allen in the Ford Puma. Class D1 is where the championship leader sits, and also the current champion Chris West and Keith Hounslow in the Peugeot 306 Maxi kit car. Kiro Carianti and Simon Coates always spectacular in the Porsche Cayman as well. Class D2 is head up by John Stone and Jack Morton, and they'll be going for overall victory today in the Ford Focus WRC. Watch out for Ray Reid and Stuart Anderson Peters in the Audi Quattro as well. Stages 1 and 2 open the day's rallying with competitors starting on the Brands Hatch rally stage before heading up through the paddock and around the circuit the wrong way through the front and the back of the pits. A great circuit and brilliant to be rallying here at Brands Hatch. Mark Kelly, last year's winner, and Neil Coleman get the day underway in their Ford Escort, and the pair are visibly on the pace and will end the stage in 3rd place overall. Big sideways and locking front left wheels as they come back in towards the pits at Brands Hatch. Going for victory are Chris West and Keith Hounslow in the Rapid 306 Maxi. That pair finished 2nd after the opening stage. Starting in 3rd but quickly topping the times are John Stone and Jack Morton in their Ford Fiesta WRC. Remember, this car won Rally Australia in 2011 for the Ford Rally team in the hands of Mikko Hirvonen. Finishing the opening stage in 4th place was Steve and Jack Tilton in their Ford Escort RS 2500. A moment for circuit rally returnees Nigel Mummery and Fiona Scarrett, coupled with an early mechanical problem, meant the pair had plenty to do throughout the rest of the day to catch up with the leading cars. They would be almost 2 minutes behind after stage 1. The turquoise terror of Mike English and Andy Robinson emerged from this stage in the lead of Class C, but had a trio of cars close behind to contend with. James and Tim Self were 2nd in Class D2 in their Fiesta R5, and leading Class A was the very orange but very rapid Vauxhall Nova in the hands of Christopher and Anthony Newton, the car being flung around Brands Hatch indecently quick throughout the day. Most spectacular livery of the day belonged to Abby Mahmood and Samantha Bartlett and the Suzuki Swift S1600 JWRC. Despite a low seeding, the pair were fastest in Class B but fell down the order with a 30-second penalty for being late to the first control point. On stage 2, and Christopher and Anthony Newton continue to lead the way in Class A by some margin over the rest of the pack. The pair almost a minute ahead already in that orange Nova, flying around Brands Hatch. Fighting for second place and equal second in the times after 2 stages with Dale and Andrew Lawson in their MGZR, making neat work of the rally school section at Brands Hatch. Joint second with the Lawsons were Alec and Mark Holding in their fantastic Austin Mini. What it might lack in age and technical wizardry was being overcome with some flat-out driving, even catching air going up the hill. Things were also very close for 4th position in Class A. Adam and Ray Ripper navigating through the opening stages of the day in the Nissan Micra. Just a handful of seconds back in 5th place were Andrew and Richard Chandler in their Ford Escort. The car really suited to this Brands Hatch layout. A very different Ford was next in class. Rob Jones and Tony Archer a mere 2 seconds ahead of another Ford, the KA of Ron Walker and Amy McCubbin. There's no mistaking the Jaffa orange machine, flat out as usual. In 8th place in Class A was the Toyota Yaris SR belonging to Craig Aston and Nick Baker. Again, another car flat out around Brands Hatch Indy. A little further back was another MGZR, this one in the hands of Joseph and Rene van Vilsteren. There was also another Nissan Micra in Class A, Nev Medhurst and Gareth Clark on board this one, which was 10th after 2 stages. Just 3 seconds behind was event sponsor Mick Johnson alongside Peter Pears in a Ford Puma. Nice and white that, lads. Don't think it'll be like that at the end of the day. Rounding off Class A was Gabriella Harmon and Alex Mill in a 3rd Nissan Micra. Leading Class B after 2 stages was my mate Paul Sheard and Bruce Lindsay. Getting some good air going up and over the jump was Gary Mason and John Matthews, leaders in Class C. Leading Class D1 by just 1 second were Chris West and Keith Hounslow, pushing hard to keep Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman at bay. Topping the times overall with a solid 9-second advantage after the first 2 stages were John Stone and Jack Morton. They were flying. Sam has got some interviews.
So we are so happy to have you back as part of this championship. And you've got a new co-driver in with you today.
Right.
How is it about your 3rd overall, I believe, so far?
Yeah, we've had a good start. First of all, it's good to be back, and we've missed the first 3 rounds, unfortunately, but due to work commitments. So it's nice to be here, and so yeah, it's settling in well, and we're having a good morning so far.
Fab, I think there's a little bit of pressure on today because you won this event last year, doing the championship.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of pressure on, but I'm sure we'll keep you right.
Yeah, I mean, it's I suppose it's our first time with car number 1. Who's that idiot? No, it's no pressure. There isn't ever. We're here to enjoy it, and we always are. Same mindset, so we'll have fun and see where we end up at the end of the day.
Fab, and what's it like? It's the 2nd rally now. What is it like sitting in with this man?
Yeah, it's good fun actually. Really good fun. Not just not really sitting too many Mark IIs, but yeah, this is a special piece of kit, and yeah, Mark can handle it. Yeah, going pretty well at the moment. Enjoying it.
Must be good because we've seen this car compete up on Mull, haven't we?
Yeah, it's one of those bucket list moments really. You see it on Mull and actually come to sit in it. It's pretty good to be fair. Yeah, really enjoying it so far. Good.
Well, we'll be keeping our eye on you all day today, and we'll catch up with you in a bit.
Thank you.
So, John, you are currently leading today. We are 2 stages down. You've definitely got to grips with it now, haven't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's more to come. We're only on the sort of first power setting, and I think for us, we just want to. I was quite ill at Knockhill, so I wanted to make sure that we're back in the swing of it and whatever for the season.
Fab, and we were actually live streaming just by the hairpin. Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it this year. You had no problems with that whatsoever.
Well, that makes a change, doesn't it, really? I usually mess it up big style, but no, it does seem to go around well.
Fab. And how's Jack? Jack's obviously back in with you.
He's all right. He's all right. He supports Newcastle United, so... But no, he's great, he's Jack. He's good. He's good.
Fab, well, you seem to be going really, really well. Like I say, currently leading, and we'll chat to you later.
All right, thanks, Sam.
After 2 stages, here's how the classes stand. And in Class A, that brilliant Vauxhall Nova out front by 57 seconds. Christopher Newton and Anthony Newton going great guns. And in Class B, it was 2 Mazda MX-5s fighting for the lead. My mate Paul Sheard and Bruce Lindsay fending off Ben Short and Jonathan Laws. Class C was crazy competitive. 4 places covered by 8 seconds, but Gary Mason and John Matthews in the Ford Escort just about hanging on to that lead. And it was Class D1, and it was those guys, Chris West and Keith Hounslow in the Peugeot 306 Maxi kit car, just about hanging on to it from Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman in the Ford Escort Mark II. But it was Class D2 the eyes were on, and it was John Stone and Jack Morton, the Newcastle fan, in his Ford Focus WRC, fending off James Self and Tim Self in the Ford Fiesta R5. The competitors have completed the opening 2 stages of the day, so let's see what's in store for them for stages 3 and 4. This time, the start is on the Grand Prix loop, heading the wrong way around the circuit, once again running through the front and the back of the pit lane before heading down through the paddock and onto the Circuit Rally School to the finish. Leading the way through the morning in Class B was Paul Sheard and Bruce Lindsay in Paul's distinctive Mazda MX-5. Chasing hard and getting very sideways in another MX-5 are Ben Short and Jonathan Laws, the duo pushing on, trying to close the gap to the leaders. Fighting to make up ground after their penalty on stage 1 as Abby Mahmood and Samantha Bartlett in the distinctive Suzuki Swift S1600 JWRC. Catching her down the jump are Darren Scott and Aid Summers with their Citroen C2 S1600. Whilst getting very sideways is the Ford Escort Mark I Mexico in the hands of Vince Bristow and Tim Sayer. Chris Keys and James Riley run 6th in Class B, working away in their beautiful little Peugeot 205. It's a welcome return to Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish, who barrel rolled their car at Knockhill. Understandably, Ashley taking it easy, bedding the car in. She'll finish the day 6th in class. Another Peugeot, this one belonging to Ed Scott and Rich Baker, finished the stage joint 7th quickest. Tony Michael and Paul Barrett were 9th in class, but made up good ground to finish the day 7th. Good work, lads. Dueling escorts to finish stage 3, Mark Pedals Thompson and Kevin Ablett keeping a D1 version behind them to the timing line. Another Ford Escort Mexico, this one in the hands of Colin and Stephanie Paul, was up next in Class B, tied on times in this stage with Howard Alexander and Martin Young's Ford Focus. Rob and Ashley Aslett followed a little further back in their Peugeot 205 with a GTI variant of the model a handful of seconds back in the hands of Steve Casey and Paul Hopkinson. Charles Wilson and Robert Clark were next in their Citroen C2, but sadly they would retire late in the day. Rounding off Class B runners were Paul Mayhew and Dean Mitchell, another 205 GTI. Leading the way though were John Stone and Jack Morton, the D2 pairing finishing the stage 3rd quickest with a 6-second lead over Chris West and Keith Hounslow. On board with West and Hounslow now, some precision driving at high speed here. No wonder they're fighting for the championship. Absolutely manic stuff on board. Taking over the lead in Class C were Roland and Stuart Brown in their Mark I Ford Escort, just 2 seconds ahead of James Slaughter and Sarah Flynn. Remaining fastest of Class A was the orange Vauxhall Nova of Christopher and Anthony Newton. Extraordinary driving, putting them over a minute clear. Not everyone made it through the stage unscathed though. Anthony Robinson getting stuck here at the hairpin, and an irate Mike Taylor losing time behind. The chicane also caught out a number of runners. Nick Whale and Paul Spooner having a moment here before unfortunately retiring from the event. If style points run off her, then James Slaughter and Sarah Flynn would surely be high scorers. How's this for power and control? Big air over the jump for Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman, entertaining the crowds and the banks of Paddock Hill. Synchronised sliding for Ray Reid and Stuart Anderson Peters' Audi Quattro, and Kiro Carianti and Simon Coates' Porsche Cayman as well. Have you ever seen a pass going up the wrong way of Paddock Hill Bend? You have now. Gary Mason and John Matthews just about holding it together as they tried to make up time. Heading on to stage 4, Roland and Stuart Brown continue to lead the way in their Mark I Ford Escort in Class C. Another orange Escort, this one belonging to Martin Page and Hugh Holdaway, was second quickest on this stage, just 1 second back in third place in the combined times. Third quickest in Class C during stage 4 were Mike English and Andy Robinson, running well and keeping things well under control. Still going for style points though, James Slaughter and Sarah Flynn held on to second place in Class C, finishing the stage 4th quickest. These Escorts look so much fun to drive. Lee Earthy and Richard Bonner 5th in the times and making up ground on those ahead of them. Championship regulars Kathy Sewart and Colin Stevens were up next in their Talbot Sunbeam Lotus. 6th quickest on this stage, but only 6 seconds away from second place. Kevin Boyle and Richard Collar were 7th quickest in Class C during stage 4, dropping a few seconds, which was creating a close 3-car battle. Ben Gill and David Didcott were up next in their Escort RS 1800, using all of the concrete available at the end of the stage. I've seen Clio Cup cars before at Brands Hatch, but not at this speed in the pit lane. Martin Ellis and Clyde Leatherby running inside the top 10 of the C-Class competitors. Neil and Matthew Dwyer continued the run of Ford Escorts in 10th place, but Blair Thompson and Shannon Wilson would sadly retire before the end of the day's action in their Clio. Locking a wheel into paddock was Tudor Davis and Sam Fordham in their slightly more modern Ford Escort. Sir Andrew McAlpine and Andy Bull in a newer Mini Cooper S this weekend, getting to grips with the different handling compared to their usual classic machine. Mark Wade and Jonathan Williams were a pair who sadly wouldn't make it to the finish, with retirement right at the end of the day for their Vauxhall Chevette. Problems would also befell Mike Webb and Steve Noble, creeping to the line into retirement. Almost a tidy handbrake turn for Andy and Alex Reid in their Peugeot 205 Maxi, but they get it going again. Rounding off Class C runners were Steve Dolman and Paul Gorge, the pair scoring a max time for the stage. Not everybody took the conventional lines, of course. All's well that ends well, right guys? What a lad. John Stone and Jack Morton continued to lead the way in Class D2 and overall, but their lead was just 3 seconds after 4 stages. Chris West and Keith Hounslow, quickest of the D1 runners and fastest during stage 4, keeping the pressure on Stone and Morton. Paul Sheard and Bruce Lindsay remained fastest in Class B, and in Class A, it was looking like Christopher and Anthony Newton's lead would be unassailable even at this point in the day. Let's go on board with Nigel Mummery and Fiona Scarrett in their Ford Focus WRC and see what it's like from the driver's eye view at some of the stages here at Brands Hatch. Transmission chattering, turbo whistling, wheels spinning. How cool is this? Great stuff from our onboard camera. Let's join Sam in the paddock now for some more interviews.
So we've just been chatting, hadn't had a great stage 3, however there's plenty of time left, you've worked your way back up and everything, so...
Absolutely. After stage 2 we were 6th overall, going really well. Stage 3 we were blocked on a hairpin, and we had an incident ourselves in the chicane, so we're 30 seconds down. Stage 4 though, we were 30 seconds quicker, so 5:02. quite pleased, back up to where we should be. So that's taken us now, I think, to 10th, 11th, somewhere around there. So if we carry on doing that, we'll climb back up hopefully by the end of the day.
Absolutely, we've still got 4 stages left. 10th is still a really good position to be in.
Yeah, we were 5th or 4th 2 years ago, so we want to get back to where we were. So we're still trying, pushing hard, but it's not ideal for us being dry. We're praying for rain. It didn't come, unfortunately. It might do by the end of the day, hopefully, but we'll see.
So, Kathy, back for round 4 today. How is it going out there for you?
Not as well to begin with as I'd have liked, considering we finished 13th overall here last year. It was just tyre choice. We made the wrong tyre choice this time. We went a bit too soft and there was a bit more grip out there than I was expecting. So then we came in, we changed tyres and we've gone back out, came back in, wasn't quite right, did something else, changed the suspension setup, hardened it up a bit, and we've gone out and we're now back on the pace, hopefully. Yeah, we're sort of...
Seem to be back on it again.
Yeah.
So happy.
Brill, and I think overall in your class it's a bit iffy at the minute, so still plenty of time.
Yeah, I think I'm sat third in class at the minute in the championship. So I don't think Richard Wells isn't here today. So hopefully I'll gain a few more points. So be up against Ryan Connolly then. So between us two. But obviously we've still got 4 more rounds to go. So anything can happen.
I can't believe we are halfway through this season already. By the way, halfway through.
I know it's gone really quick. You spend all summer waiting for it to start, and then it's like, blimey, 4 rounds over with already. But really enjoying it again. It's a really good championship.
Please tell me you have a duck for Brands Hatch as well, because if not, I will be very disappointed.
Yes, we have a duck in the car, but he's got his crash helmet on this time.
Safety first. I like it.
I don't know what that says about my driving, but...
Excellent. What about her driving then? How's it going today?
Oh, it is good. No, we're a bit slow to start with this morning. Just Christmas break and we're just not getting back into it, I don't know. But getting back on it now. Now we've got this, after mucking around with a few bits on the car, it seems to be working again now. So yeah, happy.
Super stuff there, Sam. Here's how things look after stage 4. Christopher Newton and Anthony Newton blowing everyone away in that Vauxhall Nova by 1 minute 36 from Alec Holding and Mark Holding in the Austin Mini. Class B after stage 4, Paul Sheard and Bruce Lindsay are well ahead by nearly 30 seconds in their MX-5 from another MX-5, Ben Short and Jonathan Laws. Class C still hot to trot. Roland Brown and Stuart Brown in the Ford Escort Mark 1, 9 seconds ahead of James Slaughter and Sarah Flynn in that Ford Escort RS 1800. The D1ers, Chris West and Keith Hounslow, only 4 seconds ahead in their Maxi kit car, ahead of Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman in their Ford Escort Mark 2. Class D2, John Stone and Jack Morton, a minute and nearly 10 seconds ahead in their Ford Focus WRC from James Self and Tim Self in the Ford Fiesta R5. We've passed the halfway point of the day's action and we're ready for stages 5 and 6. Competitors will run through the pit lane and onto the circuit for 2 laps before heading off down through the paddock and on to the rally school section. Chris West and Keith Hounslow leading off the Class D1 runners with a healthy advantage in class and a 9-second lead overall after this stage. Watching the speed Chris is carrying around the venue, it's gonna be hard for anyone to beat him today. Second in the D1 class and overall, and last year's winners Mark Kelly driving alongside Neil Coleman today. The pair are absolutely flying around Brands Hatch and more than holding their own in the podium positions. Leading Chris West around here are Steve and Jack Tilburn, running in 3rd place in their Ford Escort RS 2500 and clearly not hanging around, lads. Flat to the boards around the concrete of the rally section. Fourth in Class D1 at this point of the day were Mark Stracker and Simon May with their red Darien T90 GT R5. Yet another pairing who were pushing hard, illustrating just how competitive this championship is. Paul Smith and Dale Bowen were putting themselves in contention, running from a lower seeded position and possibly catching some of their rivals out because of that. After 5 stages, the duo had the distinctive BMW M3 fifth in Class D1, despite this moment behind a slower car. Mike Taylor and Martin Haggart were fighting back after losing time earlier in the morning, posting the 10th quickest time overall for Stage 5 and up to 6th in class and 11th overall. Getting quicker as the day progressed, Kiro Carianti and Simon Coates were 7th in class in their Porsche Cayman, still sporting a slight dent from an earlier introduction to some tyre markers. 8th in D1 and posting a stage time equal with Carianti and Coates was Mike Bayliss and Peter Kettle in their championship regular BMW Compact M3. Fishtailing off the line in 9th were Sean Weston and Dean Mavo in their Ford Escort, making a tidy pass on Colin and Stephanie Paul's Escort Mexico into the chicane. Dean Fewings and Bob Smith were out in their distinctive Triumph TR7 V8, sounding great around Brands Hatch on this winter's afternoon. Also eye-catching was this green Sierra of Kevin Jarvis and Robert Pomfret. Can't miss this machine, can you? Leading in D2 still were John Stone and Jack Morton, but things were about to go south for the pair as they lost 20 seconds when they caught Anthony Robinson and Mark Witherspoon in a part of the stage where getting past is not so easy. That would prove a big moment in the course of the afternoon. Roland and Stuart Brown remain leaders of Class C, although James Slaughter and Sarah Flynn took several seconds out of their advantage, setting up a close fight to the end of the day. Throwing his Mazda MX-5 around while leading Class B was Paul Shear, driving with Bruce Lindsay. Flying ahead in Class A though continued to be Christopher and Anthony Newton in their Vauxhall Nova. Almost getting it wrong coming off the circuit were Vince Bristow and Tim Sayer. Let's go for a ride on board with Nigel Mummery and Fiona Scarrett, third fastest of anyone in this stage. Looks like me leaving Brands Hatch after work. There was a slight problem for Colin and Stephanie Paul, but they got going again. Back on board, this time with Ray Reid and Stuart Anderson Peters and their lovely sounding Audi Quattro. Heading on to the rally school section, look how slippery it is on there. Heading now onto stage 6, John Stone and Jack Morton were flying at the head of Class D2 and clawing back time to those ahead in the overall standings in the process. There's nothing like a bit of adversity to focus the mind. Flying off the line with Nigel Mummery and Fiona Scarrett, second quickest in D2 on the stage, and catching James and Tim Self for second in the combined times 2. No panic with Chris West and Keith Hounslow behind them. They took 5 seconds out of the rivals. The Selfs kept things simple, posting the 6th quickest time overall for stage 6 and keeping a firm hold on second in Class D2, despite the best efforts of Mummery and Scarrett. Richard Weaver and James Pink posted the 4th quickest time in class and pulled within 2 seconds of 4th in the combined times, creating a 3-way battle for that position, though the pair sadly would retire right at the end of the day. Anthony Robinson and Mark Witherspoon were also in the fight, equal on times with Ben Smith and James Woolley after 6 stages. The closeness of competition in the Motorsport News Circuit Rally Championship really is something else regardless of your machinery. On board once again with Ray Reid and Stuart Anderson Peters and their Audi Quattro, heading down through the paddock section of the stage. A good time here, also helping the pair to close in for 7th in the combined Class D2 times. Ben Smith and Jamie Woolley remain 4th in D2, having lost a little time, were dragged into that 3-car battle for the place that would need a strong finish to pull clear again. Darryl Taylor and Dylan Thomas were just ahead of Reed and Anderson Peters, not only on track, but for 7th place in Class D2 in their Mitsubishi Evo 10 R4. Rounding out the competitors in D2 were Michael Walton and Jamie Vaughan with their Ford Focus 4x4. Leading the way overall and in Class D1 still were Chris West and Keith Hounslow, looking for a 2nd straight championship victory. Roland and Stuart Brown remained fastest in Class C1 with their orange Ford Escort Mark 1. The old fellas Paul Sheard and Bruce Lindsay were also continuing to set the pace in Class B. And it was a similar story in Class A with Christopher and Anthony Newton topping the times by some margin. Look at that Nova go! Yes, lads. Let's join Sam for some more paddock interviews.
So, Paul, doing well today. I know that, you've just literally flown here and then you're flying out. So this is a fleeting visit, but you're still having a really good day.
It's really good, yeah. No, it's working out a treat. Thanks to the lads that helped us and thanks to Brands actually at MSV. They helped let us put the lorry here on Tuesday and then letting us pick it up next Tuesday. So, yeah, thanks to a lot of people for it to happen. And, yeah, we're having a bit of luck today, touch wood.
Back out in the car, you've managed to do really, really well. You've escaped having to talk to me so far this season, but we've just dragged you out of the van.
I think it's more avoided than escaped, to be honest with you. But yeah, having a great day so far. First time here, I've never done an event here, so it's a bit of familiarisation. Got to keep the old fella pedalling on, you know who it is. So yeah, it's a good day so far.
And we're heading into the dark now, Paul. You don't like the dark, do you? I know.
I just like the dark. I just can't see, and the dark doesn't like me. So, yeah, we haven't got a big enough cushion for my dark performances. So Bruce will have to just probably steer a little bit from the left-hand side. We'll see how we go. We'll do his best anyway.
Oh, we're now 2nd overall. There's still 2 stages to go.
Yeah, well, we'll see how we go. We'll keep pushing. I think John's going to be on a bit of a charge now. He took, I think, 4 seconds out of his last time round, so we've got a job on, I think, to keep John behind us, but we'll keep pushing and we'll see where we end up.
Chris is on it now. Chris is wanting to hang on to that, and we were talking about you just then, and I've said you're going to be pushing, you're right behind him, so there's still 2 stages to go.
We never give up, you know, and wherever we go, we drive at 100%, and if it's good enough, it's good enough. If it's not, then the best man wins. So 2 to go, 10 miles, and we'll give it all we've got.
So our current rally leader, you weren't going to let him have it that easy, but you've got Mark Kelly just chasing you as well. Are you going to hang on to it?
Don't know, I'm going to try. I'm fortunate for John Stone. I think he got held up. Unfortunately it's rallying sometimes, but to be fair, he's been on a mission all day. But no, Mark certainly he's given me a run, and he's certainly capable of beating me. So just got to keep pushing to the end. And I think, to be fair, if John Stone carry on as he is, I think he's got a good chance of getting back up there as well. So we'll just see what happens. But yeah, it's good, and this is what it's about really. It's good for the championship to be that competitive, and I think it shows how much talent is in all of the cars. So it's good. Yeah.
Day for you so far. Obviously the 4th round of the championship overall.
Yep.
Doing well.
Yeah, we've had our challenges today. Got really held up on the 2nd stage, cost a lot of time. 3rd stage we snapped a track control arm. So we've been hobbling around the 3rd stage, repaired it on the 4th, not a great repair, it was a faulty item the next one. So we're back in contention now. We should be doing okay in terms of championship points. We've slipped down quite a bit.
Well, there's a lot of championship teams not here today, so that's definitely going to work in your favour.
Absolutely, yeah. I had to miss the last round, Knockhill, but we're in for all the rest of them, so we're just going to go for maximum points. That's why we're here.
Thanks, Sam. Great stuff as usual. Christopher Newton and Anthony Newton in Class A, right out in front of anyone in the Vauxhall Nova. It's going to be a battle for 2nd and 3rd place, though. The MG ZR and Austin Mini will be going for it all the way through. Class B and Paul Sheard and Bruce Lindsay, we just spoken to, 27 seconds ahead of the other MX-5 of Ben Short and Jonathan Laws. Class C shaping up nicely, the top 3 covered by 9 seconds, but it's all about chasing down Roland Brown and Stuart Brown in that Ford Escort Mark 1. Class D1, and it's the usual suspects, Chris West and Keith Hounslow in the Peugeot 306 Maxi kit car ahead of the field, but Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman in the Ford Escort Mark II keeping them honest. Class D2, and it's John Stone and Jack Morton in the Ford Focus WRC. 1 minute and 18 seconds ahead of the Selfs in the Ford Fiesta R5. Stages 7 and 8 will run into the darkness, which is always a delight around Brands Hatch. Starting from the rally school, running the right way around the circuit before a final blast around clearways to the finish. Michelin tyres spinning off the line. Let's go on board with rally leaders Chris West and Keith Hounslow. All hands on deck as he flies through the stages at Brands Hatch. Rapid stuff from Chris and Keith as ever. Barring some sort of setback, you'd think they're on course for a rally victory here. Pushing hard in the lead of Class D2 are John Stone and Jack Morton, taking 5 seconds off Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman to regain second place overall. A beautifully executed turn around the hairpin there. Kelly and Coleman weren't hanging around either, but it was looking like last year's winners would have to settle for a podium spot this time round. It was all change for 9th place overall. Anthony Robinson and Mark Witherspoon climbing 2 places after going joint 7th quickest, finding their speed at the right time, despite a little bit of grass cutting. Also making up 2 places to take 10th overall were Mike Taylor and Martin Haggart, posting the 3rd quickest time of the D1 runners to pull themselves back into contention. And what control to catch that slide and not lose any time. James Slaughter and Sarah Flynn were another pairing to make up 2 places, closing within 2 seconds of Roland and Stuart Brown for the lead of Class C. Unfortunately, Ben Smith and Jamie Woolley lost time at this stage, falling out of the top 10 overall. After leading much of the day, the Browns posted the 3rd quickest time in Class C, setting up a nail-biting finish with Slaughter and Flynn. Paul Sheard and Bruce Lindsay continued to top the times in Class B, extending their lead to over half a minute and looking strong for the victory. Christopher and Anthony Newton weren't hanging around despite being nailed on for the honours in Class A, managing to post a time for Stage 7, which put them alongside D1 and D2 runners. Epic. It wasn't smooth running for all of the runners though. Ray Reid and Stuart Anderson Peters getting mixed up at the split and taking one of the marker cones, looking like Madonna from the 80s. Back on board this time with Sir Andrew McAlpine and Andy Bull in their Mini Cooper S. Kiro Carianti and Simon Coates ensure more airtime with this moment. That'll be a new set of Michelins then, Captain. On to the final stage of the day. Chris West and Keith Hounslow keep their footing and go fastest of anyone yet again to secure their 2nd straight victory. Let's go on board for a final ride on the Peugeot. Chris now leads both the overall championship and the Michelin Cup at the midpoint of the season. Holding on to 2nd overall and leaders in Class D2 were John Stone and Jack Morton, who will be thinking what might have been after losing time behind another car earlier in the day. Agonisingly for Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman, they record the exact same time as Stone and Morton and finish the day just 1 second behind, taking 3rd place overall. And as you can see, they weren't hanging around either. 4th overall and 3rd in Class D1 was Steve and Jack Tilburn in their Ford Escort 2500, snatching the spot by just 3 seconds on this stage. 5th place and 2nd in D2 were James and Tim Self, an unprecedented time for the pair, dropping them right down at the end of the day. Equal on times with the Selfs after 8 stages of the action were Mark Stracker and Simon May with the Darien T90 GTR5. A good run for the duo though. Another pair who snatched a place on this final stage were Paul Smith and Dale Bowen in their BMW M3, capitalising on a spin by Nigel Mummery and Fiona Scarrett to take 7th by 1 second. James Slaughter and Sarah Flynn jumped 3 places with the 6th fastest time of anyone in their Class C Ford Escort RS 1800, taking victory in the class and 9th overall. Rounding out the top 10 were Anthony Robinson and Mark Witherspoon in their Proton Satria Millington engine car, just 1 second ahead of Mike Taylor and Martin Haggart, and Roland and Stuart Brown. After their spin on stage 7, Kiro Carianti and Simon Coates posted an excellent 5th fastest time overall and 3rd fastest in Class D1 on stage 8. Mike English and Andy Robinson also put in a good performance to end the day 8th overall and ending 4th in Class C. Roland and Stuart Brown were just a couple of seconds slower than Slaughter and Flynn on the stage, having to settle for 2nd in Class C, just 4 seconds behind in the combined times. Romping to victory in Class B were Paul Sheard and Bruce Lindsay, leaders throughout the day and putting Paul 3 points in the lead of the Pro Tyre Challenge ahead of Kathy Sewart. Winners of Class A after a superb performance which put them 18th overall were Christopher and Anthony Newton in their Vauxhall Nova. Quick from the get-go, they were untouchable at this event. On board now with Sir Andrew McAlpine and Andy Bull, once again illustrating how dark and difficult the closing stage was. And even at the end of the day's final stage, moves were still being made. Vince Bristow and Tim Sayer slipping past Ashley Morris and Jamie McTavish here. Let's join Sam and hear from the overall top 3 in the paddock.
What a day. I mean, it's been so exciting to have you back, and you were pushing all day, and to have a second in it, going into the last stage and then matching John's time, you had us on the edge of our seats. We were waiting for you to come in.
So were we in the car, to be fair. I mean, we've gone as quick as we could all day, and we just said, let's just go and enjoy it. Let's just drive 100%, and where we end up, and to come down to a second behind John, and I don't know what we were behind Chris, maybe 13, 14. You know, we're delighted with that. It's been a great day.
Yeah. Everyone's been saying you've been pushing, and I mean, you got out of the car, both of you, with grins on your faces. What's it like? I know it's been your second event with Mark, but what's it like from your side of the car?
It's good fun. It's the car's superb, absolutely superb. We've had fun all day. Really enjoyed the stages. The actual rally has been run really well. Been very little hold-ups. Yeah, it's been really good fun. There's been some slippy moments out there, but yeah, like I say, to finish 1 second behind John, bit gutting, but hey, we are where we are. So, and it's a fantastic championship. So.
Absolutely, and you've still got a podium finish, so massive congratulations, and we hope to see you both again soon.
Thank you. Thanks.
So it's going to be a little bit of a mixed day from you today, but I mean, it was really, really exciting going into the finish, and you've still got a podium finish, so overall for the championship, the points really good.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, we came for seat time. Our championship's gone really because we crashed at Cadwell and I was ill at Knockhill, but seat time was what we needed, and we got some good seat time. You know, it was great. And I felt that I drove really well today, so we'd like to have won, but you know, not to be. Next time maybe.
And it was a real shame because you have been on it all day. I mean, you've been taking time out of these lads. Even when you lost that time, you've made it back to get up to second.
Yeah, but you know, these lads are not hanging around. You know, they're not hanging around, and it suits that sort of thing here. But it's been a great day. I've enjoyed it. Long drive home now.
Yeah, it is. And Jack, what about from your side of the car?
Yeah, it's been a great day, to be fair, apart from, obviously, as John says, the lost time that we had early on in the day, which would have been a bit closer up, maybe further up the road than what Chris was. But at the end of the day, we came here for the seat time for the 2 big rallies in March for Epping and then Northwest, so it was good.
Fab, well, we hope to see you again soon, and good luck for your next few.
All right, thank you.
Win under your belt for the championship, you've got to be happy with that.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I'm really pleased. You know, I've had a lot of comments on Facebook and stuff like that about cheating and bits and bobs, just people obviously. But the fact of the matter is, I built my car with my dad in a shed pretty much. So he developed it, he built it, and it's out here beating proper stuff. So that's good enough for me. I ain't got really much to say. I'm over the moon, and yeah, I'm happy.
Good, and it's obviously full points for the championship again. You're doing all right again this year, aren't you?
It's going very well, isn't it? We didn't expect this today, but it's all good. Yeah, very good. Very happy.
Fab. Well, massive
Really cool.
congratulations, guys, and we'll see you at Snetterton.
Thanks very much.
Christopher and Anthony Newton take a pulverising win in Class A. The gap nearly 4 minutes back to second place finishers Dale and Andrew Lawson in their MGZR. 19 seconds behind that fantastic Austin Mini of Alec and Mark Holden. It's much closer in Class B with Paul Sheard and Bruce Lindsay taking victory, but Paul backed it off a bit in the dark, allowing Ben Short and Jonathan Laws to close in on them. The gap just 23 seconds. In third, a great performance from the Suzuki Swift JWRC. In Class C, the gaps are even closer with just 4 seconds separating Roland and Stuart Brown in the Escort Mark 1 from eventual winners James Slaughter and Sarah Flynn in the Escort RS 1800. In an Escort heavy class, it's Martin Page and Hugh Holdaway in third. Chris West takes Class D1 honours with trusty co-driver Keith Hounslow guiding him to victory. But it's a superb effort from Mark Kelly and Neil Coleman to finish just 19 seconds behind in their Mark II Escort. John Stone and Jack Morton take the D2 win, the 20-second delay on stage 5 costing them dearly, but it's still a great performance to finish second overall. Jamie and Tim Self take second place with Nigel Mummery and Fiona Scarrett slicing through the field after a slow stage 1 finish to third. In the Michelin Cup, Chris West extends his lead at the top of the table, but Mike Taylor is keeping him honest. Despite finishing 6th, the gap is only 22 points, and I'm sure he'll be looking to close that gap at Snetterton. In the overall championship standings, Chris leads Martin Haggart by 28 points, with Mike Taylor 12 points further back in third place. Well, that's it for Brands Hatch. The rain held off, and we had an action-packed rally. Round 5 takes place at Snetterton next month. Can Chris West and Keith Hounslow make it a hat-trick of wins? Join us next time to find out.